Welcome back to Bit Distracted Games. This video continues the beginner 2D platformer tutorial series by adding scoring to our game. The last video covered how to create a collision relationship between players and coins, and how to handle the collision by writing C# code to destroy the coin. We'll add to this by adding scoring to our game. We'll display our score with text on screen. This is referred to as HUD, which stands for Heads Up Display. This overlaid text is similar to information which is overlaid on the window of a fighter airplane's cockpit, allowing the pilot to keep their head up rather than looking down at their instrumentation. This term has been adopted by game developers and is used to refer to any information which overlays the gameplay area, such as score, health, or a timer. Even the simplest games may have multiple types of information displayed in the HUD, but we'll keep this simple and only display score. To display score, we need a single text instance. If you've been poking around FlatRedBall, you may have noticed that FRB supports adding text objects right in the FRB editor. Even though this is technically valid, we won't use the FlatRedBall editor to create our HUD. Instead, we'll use a new tool, which we haven't yet opened, called GUM. The GUM UI tool is made especially for the creation of UI and HUD, and it's fully supported in FlatRedBall. We haven't talked about it yet, but our game already has a GUM project. We can see this by scrolling down and expanding the Global Content Files folder and looking for the file ending in .gumx. This is our main GUM project. Also, each of our screens has a dedicated GUM screen which we can see by expanding Game Screen, Files, and looking for the file ending in .gusx. To make changes to the GUM project, click on the GUM icon in the top of FlatRedBall editor. Note that you must have the XNA runtimes installed to open GUM. If you don't, GUM fails to open and you must first install these runtimes. See the link in the description or join the FlatRedBall Discord server if you need help on this. Once GUM opens, you should see a screens folder on the left side, and if you open that, it includes Game Screen GUM. This is the GUM screen which automatically loads whenever our game screen or any level loads. In other words, if we add anything to this screen, we will see it in our game. The most basic type of GUM objects are called standard elements. These are the building blocks for our GUM screens. They can be combined to create anything from a simple HUD to the most complex UI. We have a few options on how to add objects to our screen. We'll add a colored rectangle to our game screen by drag and dropping the colored rectangle item from the standard folder onto the game screen GUM item in the tree view. After adding it, notice that the game screen GUM contains something called color rectangle instance. If we select our game screen GUM, notice that the color rectangle instance appears in the screen. We can grab the body or edges of the colored rectangle instance to change its position and size. One of the best things about this is that we only need to make these changes in GUM. We don't even have to do anything in FlatRedBall or in the code to have this show up. Let's see our colored rectangle in action. And there's the white rectangle we just added. Now to delete this, you can either select the instance in the tree view or in the editor view. I'm selecting it in the editor view. Then once it's selected, press delete on your keyboard. It'll ask you to confirm if you want to delete the instance. Let's say yes. We can also add a text instance to our game screen, which will work well for our scoring HUD. Just like before, we'll drag text from the standard folder onto game screen GUM. Now we have a text instance that says hello. Don't worry, we'll change this to display our score later. For now, let's move the text so that it has a small border between itself and the top left of the screen. If you want to position the text precisely, you can also type in the X and Y values in the variables. Also, we want to make sure that we have enough room in our text to support the full score. The easiest way to do this is to resize the text so that it's very wide. Finally, we'll be interacting with this text instance in code, so we should give it a name to help us find it when we're writing code. Whatever name we give this text instance will be how we access it in the code. I'll change the name property from text instance to score instance. GUM automatically saves our changes, so we don't need to do anything after changing the text name. We can go back to FRB and run the game to see our hello text in the top left of the screen. And there's our hello text. Next, we need to add the code to keep track of our score and to show this score in our text object. Before we begin, we need to decide on something. Where should the score variable live? Typically, when adding a variable like score, its location in code can have an impact as your game grows. A full game may have a dedicated class for scoring, or for the player profile, but for this tutorial, we'll keep it simple and add our score to the game screen class. To do this, open Visual Studio, and then expand the project, expand screens, and select GameScreen.cs. Remember, we added code to the GameScreen.event.cs in our last video, so this file is still mostly empty. We can add a variable to GameScreen by adding the following code above the custom initialize function, but after this GameScreen bracket. Add int space score semicolon. Whenever the player collects a coin, we will increase this score. If you followed the previous video, then you already have a function in the GameScreen.event.cs which is called whenever a collision occurs between the player and coin. We can add additional code to this function. Add the following line after the destroy call in GameScreen.event.cs. Score plus equals 100. This code adds 100 points to the score whenever the player collides with a coin. Although the score will go up when the player collides with a coin, we haven't yet displayed the score in our GUM text object. To access any object in the GUM screen, we use the GUM screen property. If we type GUM screen, and then a period, and then start typing score, we can access the score instance we created earlier. And notice that it's the same name that we named it in GUM. To set the displayed text, let's add the following code after increasing our score. Now let's save our game and run it. Now before collecting the coins, notice how it says hello. After we're done testing this, we'll go back and change this to 0. But for now, let's test the collision. 100, 200, and 300. Now, the game starts at 0 points. So if we copy this, go to GameScreen.cs, and then in void custom initialize function, we paste the same code, save, and then run the platformer again, we can see that it starts at 0 this time instead of hello. This is because the custom initialize is automatically called when a screen first starts. So this will force our text to display a value of 0 right away. Now I want to point something out that's very subtle. Take a look at this 0 and then keep an eye on it when I collect the first coin. You may have noticed that the text starts out left aligned. Initially, our text displays a number of 0, but then as the player earns points and the score is increased to 100, the text is pushed to the right. We can fix this by adjusting the text horizontal alignment. As you may remember previously, we adjusted the width of the text to be much larger than it was initially. We did this so we didn't have to think about running out of space, but now we will fine-tune this position so it looks just right. First, we'll close out the game and then reopen GUM. Then we'll change the text horizontal alignment to be right rather than its default left. Notice that as soon as we do that, the word hello snaps to the right side of the text rectangle. Now that we've adjusted the horizontal alignment, we can change the width of the text. I'll make mine a little narrower so that the text sits at the top left of the screen. Also, it might be worth replacing the hello with a couple of zeros. There's two reasons for doing this. One, when building UI, you want it to be as close as possible to the real thing. The word hello will never appear in a score text object, and putting numbers here will more closely represent the final product. Reason number two is that we want to make sure that the text never spills over the left side of the screen. By putting a larger number, such as a bunch of zeros, we can visualize the size of the text when it has a lot of numbers. Of course, our game only has 3 coins now, but a real game may have more coins, as well as other ways to earn points. So we should make sure the HUD looks okay when the number is larger. I picked the number 0 because it's a wider number as opposed to the number 1.
If you are a programmer who has experience with C# frameworks such as .NET MAUI, WPF, or other experience with the MVVM pattern, then you will find the GUM syntax familiar since it fully supports binding and data templates. If you would like more information, stop by the FlatRedBall Discord and we can help you get started. If you're not sure what this all means, don't worry. MVVM is not a requirement for this part of the tutorial. We may cover MVVM and binding in a future tutorial, so stay tuned. Now that we have coins and scoring in the game, the user can earn points for collecting the coins. If you haven't already, now is a great time to create some test levels and coin layouts. Try to make some areas easy and some areas hard. See if you can earn the maximum number of points in these areas. As always, if you have any questions, please come visit us at the FlatRedBall Discord server. We're always eager to help out. I also really enjoy making these videos for you, and I'm eager to see how far you have come. With that, I am Nick with Bit Distracting Games. Thank you so much for watching.